Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome into the Saturday edition on the YouTube channel. So, as everybody knows, this is where I'm gonna do my weekly preview. I do hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. I hope you guys had your bellies full. I hope you were able to spend some time with family if you were able to. And if you had to ride solo like I did, I hope you at least did what I did. Cook you some good food, got you some like a good pumpkin pie, and you just enjoyed the day to yourself watching some football or whatever you're into. I'm assuming if you watch my show, you're probably a little bit into football. So, yeah. With that being said, what I'm going to do for today's show, it's a tad bit different with it being there being 3 Thursday games. I'm just going to kind of go over some quick takeaways from all 6 teams that played on Thursday, and then I will give out my prospect encyclopedia player of Thanksgiving. I just chose one player for the day, like I did last year when I did that, and then I will be diving into the rest of the week matchup. So why don't I just go ahead and get into this? Starting with that first game of the day, the Bears did win 16-14. I guess start with the losing team on this one, with the Lions, just so anybody is maybe aware, in case they're like fantasy football managers of him. DeAndre Swift did suffer a shoulder sprain. It sounds like they are saying it's a day-to-day injury, so that will be something to monitor. The Lions are still winless. This was the game I picked them to win. They definitely at least covered the spread on my bet, but I did pick them to win this game for my game picks, and that did not come true. Yeah, they lack a lot of talent, and then when you lose your best player on the offensive side of the ball, they just struggle to move the ball. Jared Goff stinks. That whole offense stinks, and that defense is nothing great about. Great, but at least their defense was playing, pretty tough for most of the matchup, keeping their the game close. I mean, the Bears should have blown them out a lot more than they did with how the Lions offense was playing, but it was actually the Lions defense that was keeping it a close game because they kept the Bears offense in check for most of the day. Then the Bears, obviously, they get their 4th win. It doesn't look like Matt Nagy will be getting fired, at least for another week or so. If not, he probably will at least finish the season out. I mean, I don't really expect the Bears to build much off of this win. I mean, they barely snuck by the Lions, so I had to come down to that last second field goal for them to get the win on Thursday. So there's no much expectation for the Bears. They're just going to be a team that probably will beat the bad teams that are remaining on their schedule and will probably lose to the good teams. That's basically how I view them. And then moving into that afternoon game, we had the Raiders upset the Cowboys in overtime in that 36-33 win. That was definitely a surprise to me. I thought the Raiders were about to pack it home and go home for the holidays. I thought they were falling apart over the last couple weeks with their losses, and especially dealing with the interim head coach and everything that they have had to deal with as far as outside noise for the season. But they were able to come together and stick it to the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. And I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just a typical late season Cowboys collapse too that we're starting to watch unfold. So who knows what it was, but either way, the Raiders did get the win. Now they're sitting at a 6-5 record. They're still within contention of a wild card spot. They're still technically within contention to win their division. I don't really expect them to win the division. They definitely have some tougher games coming up on the schedule, so we'll have to see if they were able to sneak into the playoffs. But as you can tell, the Raiders definitely, they still have enough talent on that team where you shouldn't take them lightly, even with the interim head coach and Rich Bisaccia. So they're obviously going to be competitive going forward for the rest of the season as they try to push for the playoffs. A note on the Raiders, though. Darren Waller, I really don't know what this means because I'm not a doctor. He suffered a strained IT band. So I'm assuming the IT band is in your knee somewhere. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's down your ankle. I don't know. But it's a strained IT band. I think the expectation is he may have to miss at least a week or so. We'll have to watch that going forward. Obviously, with him playing on a Thursday, he gets the extra time off to recover. But they might be missing Darren Waller in their next matchup, which would be a big detriment for their offense to not have him inside the lineup. Now you're looking at the Cowboys. They're lucky they have a nice sizable lead on the NFC East. Otherwise, they could be floundering away their division lead. They're definitely floundering away their chances they had to potentially be the number one seed in the NFC with their losses they've had over the last couple weeks. A note too, they are considering resting Ezekiel Elliott to help his injured knee. So Ezekiel Elliott might not be playing next week. The Cowboys play New Orleans on Thursday Night Football for week 13. So we'll have to see, but they need to get back on track. I know they're supposed to get DeMarcus Lawrence back, I believe, in the next week or so. I think he's inside that 21-day period where they have to activate him to the normal roster. So they'll at least be getting their DeMarcus Lawrence to go opposite of Micah Parsons. Now, Micah Parsons is a complete stud. He's definitely the defensive rookie of the year. And I still think the Cowboys can get things back on track. I mean, they are missing Amari Cooper. They are missing CeeDee Lamb. If they have both those wide receivers, who knows how this matchup does turn out, right? So, I think the Cowboys will get back on track, but they need to get things going for them so they don't stumble themselves into the playoffs and they suffer a wild card weekend loss because of how they played to end the season. And then moving into the last matchup of Thanksgiving, the Bills completely spanked the Saints. They won 31-6. I'll start with the Saints side. Yeah, they're so decimated with injuries at this point. Like, it was kind of expected that they weren't going to be that competitive with Buffalo, especially when they have Trevor Siemian as their quarterback. They have guys that are better suited as wide receiver threes as their leading wide receivers in that offense. They don't really have a tight end that scares you. Their offensive line was missing both their tackles, and then when you're missing their best offensive weapon in Alvin Kamara plus Mark Ingram. That's kind of expected that the Saints were going to do much against the offense. And you knew the Bills' defense, after being as bad as it was against the Colts, they were going to come out and shut down this offense. They're going to be highly motivated. So I'm not really surprised by the outcome of this matchup. I thought the Buffalo Bills were going to handle their business against New Orleans. And now the Saints are they're sitting at a 5-6 record. It's going to kind of take a miracle, I think, for them to bounce back and maybe squeeze back into the playoff picture. I just don't see how any team is going to be scared of that offense. Obviously, when you get Kamara back, that helps. But when Trevor Siemian is the quarterback, the defense can really gear their game plan around stopping their best offensive weapon. And then you switch sides to Buffalo. They got things back on track, but their offense is still kind of a work in progress. They kind of got some things out of their running backs with Matt Breida kind of being more involved. And then obviously, Josh Allen had an up and down day. He did have those two turnovers, so he still needs to clean some things up and get himself playing back to the way he was prior to the Colts matchup. So I think, the Bills are still a team to be dealt with in the AFC, but the biggest thing that happened in that game was Tre'Davious White, their best cornerback, arguably a top 5 cornerback in this league. He suffered a torn ACL, so he's done for the year. They're going to be missing their lockdown cornerback group. Their cornerback group was already really thin as it was, so that's going to be an area that teams are going to be able to attack on the boundary with their wide receivers. So the Bills defense will be missing, sitting here thinking on top of my head, probably, their best defensive player. So we'll have to see how the Bills defense plays going forward. They got obviously that big matchup next week. I believe it's on Monday night against the New England Patriots. So, I still think the offense can still light up the scoreboard, but man, that Tre'Davious White injury, that kind of shifts my whole, how I view the Bills as a potential Super Bowl contender, because I think that will end up biting them in the butt come playoff time when they face some of the top wide receivers in the league. Now let's go ahead and put a bow on the Thanksgiving games. My prospect encyclopedia player of Thanksgiving. I'm going with the man that looks like he's 38 years old and he should be an accountant. Hunter Renfrow, the Raiders wide receiver. He's always been a guy I enjoyed watching play football. He's so good out of the slot. And the only reason why he's in the prospect encyclopedia player in the prospect encyclopedia is because he only had 10 starts prior to the season. You would think with how much he has played over the last couple of years, he wouldn't be involved in that book. But, normally it's the outside wide receivers that technically get listed as starters. the slot guy like Hunter Renfrow, he doesn't get as many technical starts as he probably should have. But he's in the book, and he was definitely the best prospect encyclopedia player of Thanksgiving. He actually had career high. His 8 receptions is a career high. His 134 receiving yards is a career high, and he had those 9 total targets, so he's very efficient. Had a 52-yard reception, which actually helped open up things for the Raiders offense late in that fourth quarter. So yeah, Hunter Renfrow completely balled out. He's a very for sure slot wide receiver that you can get in this league, and he's a crucial part for that offense. He's a trusty weapon for Derek Carr. So yeah, Hunter Renfrow is my prospect encyclopedia player of Thanksgiving. And if you want to know what it's all about, go to prospectencyclopedia.com to check out all about it. You get the entire PDF for $15. If you're just a Raiders fan, you want to read about the Raiders, you can read that for just $1. As I always push, the Bucs section, which I wrote, you can download that for free. It'll give you a good little snippet of what you can expect if you wanted to buy the entire PDF, which I'm sure you'll be impressed by, and then you'll go make that full purchase. So again, go to prospectencyclopedia.com to check out and see what that is all about. So now that I'm done with the Thanksgiving games, I am going to go ahead and get into these the rest of the Week 12 matchups. Starting with the 1 p.m. games. And again, I complained about this last week. I'm going to go ahead and complain about it again. You know, why do we only have 3 4 p.m. games? I don't like that. There should always be a minimum of 4 p.m. games. Like, why is the Steelers-Bengals game? That's a good game. Why is that not pushed back? Why is the Colts-Bucks game not pushed back to that slot? I don't know. I don't make the schedule. I'm just saying, if all 3 games in the late game slot end up being a blowout, I'm going to be upset. All right, with that being said, diving into the 1 p.m. game, the first one I'm going to talk about, the Pittsburgh Steelers are traveling to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. With the Steelers on their injury report, these 2 players are out. Eric Ebron with a knee and J.C. Hassenauer with a pectoral. And then Joe Hayden is questionable with his foot injury. On the Bengals side, they're relatively healthy. Only 1 person listed. Auden Tate is doubtful with this thigh injury. So yeah, this is a pretty big matchup. Obviously, most of these matchups with how close every, division and every conference is right now, every team needs a win to make sure they're either, gaining foothold on the wild card positioning or gaining foothold on their division. And the Bengals and the Steelers, they're right in the mix of things. They could still win the AFC North. They could still make it to the wild card. This is a division that you could see 3 teams out of that division in the playoffs at the end of the year. The Bengals did beat up on the Steelers earlier in the season, and that was in Pittsburgh. So it's going to be interesting to see how these Bengals perform. The Bengals of the past probably lose this game. Is this a new era of the Bengals where they handle their business against the Steelers? And it's a team they could beat. They proved it before. So with that being said, I think the Bengals offense definitely has to have confidence with how they performed last time against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Joe Burrow should be able to come in and play efficient football. He should be able to utilize all of his weapons, and I think he's going to at least be able to march the team down the field and put themselves in scoring position throughout the day. Now it's going to come down on them converting those drives into touchdowns because the Steelers defense will be a little bit back to normal. They get TJ Watt back this week. They get Minka Fitzpatrick back this week. We'll have to see if Joe Hayden can play or not. Obviously, if Joe Hayden's out, that makes it a little bit easier for Joe Burrow and his weapons to pick apart the secondary. But anytime you get TJ Watt back involved, he's good for a sack. He's good for a forced turnover at any point of the game. So I think there will be times that the Steelers defense can show up, but they definitely will need to force some turnovers to completely shift how this game can turn out. Then you flip sides of the ball, the Steelers offense, we'll have to see how they perform because you never know what you're going to get out of them. Sometimes they look great, they march down the field with ease and they put up points, and then there's sometimes it's just like, man, what do they got going on here? They can't get anything positive momentum going. Now they're going against the Bengals defense, like I keep on saying, they're good on some drives, and then some drives they can give up some easy scores. So I do think they're going to be able to move the ball at times. I think they're going to be able. I think the Bengals defense does keep Najee Harris somewhat in check, and then I think this is going to be a game that's going to have to be one between Pat Freiermuth, Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and Big Ben. It's going to come down to how Big Ben can play. As long as Big Ben can be efficient with the football, he protects the ball, and he's not throwing up no ducks that can get intercepted. I like their chances that they're going to be able to keep this within a game, and they're going to have a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. I do think this does come down to the fourth quarter. It's going to come down to who has the ball last, who can put their team in a position to kick that game-winning field goal. Man, I have a tough time thinking the Bengals really do sweep the Steelers. I do, but I think it's a new era of football in the AFC North. I do. I think the Bengals handle their business. They really put the Steelers in a tough spot to go into December football. The Bengals find a way to win. They win like a 27-24 win for Cincinnati. Moving into the next game, we got the Carolina Panthers traveling down to Miami to face the Dolphins. As far as the injury report, we got for the Panthers, John Miller is doubtful with his ankle injury. On the Dolphins side, these three players will be out. Elijah Campbell with a toe and knee, Adam Shaheen with a knee, Trill Williams with a hamstring, and then Brandon Jones with an ankle and elbow injury. And then as far as this matchup, this is kind of a matchup of teams that really don't have much going for them at this point. I mean, technically the Panthers could go on a run and make the NFC. The Dolphins would have to not only go on like a 5-6 game winning streak, 7 game. They basically would have to win out and hope games fall their way if they want a chance to make the playoffs. So it's kind of a battle of wounded animals, to say the least. So with that being said, I think the Dolphins, they're going against a tougher defense that's really stout against the run, right? So I think whoever they line up at the backfield, whether it's Myles Gaskin, I know they just brought in Phillip Lindsay. I think the Dolphins' rushing attack is going to be very limited tomorrow. It's going to be forced on Tua to win this game. So can Tua and Jalen Waddle, can they effectively move the ball? Mike Gesicki, I think at times they will. They could put together like 2 to 3 touchdown drives, but I think this defense is going to be able to keep the Dolphins in check for most of the day, where they're punting more times than not. And I think it's just going to be a hit and miss day for the Dolphins offense, but I do think they can put together 2 to 3 touchdown drives if as long as Tua is playing efficient with the football and not making any questionable throws. Then you flip sides of the ball, the Panthers, they're coming, like I said, they're coming off that rough loss to the Washington football team, but Cam, he is putting together some good things. He was able to showcase that he could still throw the ball, and he's going against this Dolphins defense, which has played a lot better over the last few weeks. But they definitely, it's not like they were facing some of the best offenses in the league. So I do think Cam's going to be able to move the ball on the ground with him and Christian McCaffrey. I think this would be a nice little mixture between read past the RPO option, everything that their offense can do now with Cam Newton being the quarterback. And I think Cam Newton's going to be able to, take some shots at the air. I think he's going to have at least one shot, to Robbie Anderson. I think DJ Moore will get involved, and I think they're going to be able to move the ball at times, and then they're going to be able to get some 2 to 3 scoring drives. But that, Miami defense is playing with confidence, so I think that at times they're going to stop them and stall that Carolina offense. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's a little bit low scoring game. I don't see there being a lot of fireworks being scored in this game. I do think the Panthers win, though. I think the Panthers win like a 21-17 win over Miami. And then moving into this next game, we got the Eagles traveling to New York to face the Giants. The Eagles, with their injury report, Jordan Howard is out with his knee injury. And then Tay Gowan is questionable with a quad injury. And then the Giants are dealing with a number of injuries right now. Nate Ebner was placed on IR with a knee injury. These 3 players are out. Colin Gillespie with a calf, Sterling Shepard with a quad, and Caden Smith with a knee. And then these 2 players are doubtful. Kyle Rudolph with an ankle, and Kadarius Toney with a quad. And then Saquon Barkley is questionable with his ankle injury, as well as John Ross with his quad. So, yeah, the Giants are super banged up in the skill position area. They're going to be missing Sterling Shepard, likely Kadarius Toney, likely Caden Smith, Kyle Rudolph, and Saquon Barkley is questionable as well as John Ross. So, yeah, and then the Giants just fired their offensive coordinator, so that offense is a mess. Obviously, entering this week, I have no confidence in the Giants' offense, especially after I got to see them play live on Monday. Yeah, that offense has a lot of work to be done. The offensive line, I really don't see them being dominant, and I don't really see how this offense is going to just all of a sudden develop some consistency with Freddie Kitchens. So I see a very inconsistent offense that maybe can put together 2 or 3 scoring drives, and that's if everything's hitting for them. From the play calling aspect, but I don't even know if I can see that really happening. So, and then they are going against that Philadelphia Eagles defense, which has been playing with a lot of confidence over the last couple of weeks. They're forcing turnovers, they're getting sacks. So I think a confident Eagles defense is going to win the day against the Giants offense. And then you flip sides of the ball. I mean, that Eagles offense is starting to put up some points too. Jalen Hurts is using his arm, he's using his legs, he's protecting the ball. They're getting the rushing game going. Miles Sanders is back, so they're going to get him going. And then you got Devontae Smith, who should be able to win his matchups, and Dallas Goedert as well. So I think I definitely trust the Eagles offense to move the ball and to be in scoring position more times than not than the Giants offense. Now, this is a divisional matchup. Divisional matchups can get weird. They can be a lot closer than they should be. It's not like Philadelphia is playing like they're like a number 1 team in the league. They still have a lot of room to grow on that roster and as a team. But with the way they're playing right now compared to how the Giants are playing right now, yeah, I'm hands down taking the Eagles. I think the Eagles win like a 28-21 win tomorrow. And then moving on to this next game. And this is going to probably be a quick preview, even though it shouldn't be, because it's involving 2 playoff teams, but the one playoff time. And if you hear that, he's back in the back of my room deciding he's going to cough up his lungs, I guess, during my video today. And you guys already know. It's Titan. And speaking of Titan, I guess that's why he's timing out his coughs right now. We got the Titans heading up to Foxborough to face the Patriots. Yeah, both teams got a long injury report, so why don't I dive into it? The Titans is probably the most effective injury report because as you guys know that have been paying attention to my show, Bill Belichick just lists guys on the injury report, I swear, just to list them on the injury report because most of those guys end up playing and they end up being effective too. So why don't I start with the Tennessee injury report? These following 6 players are out. A.J. Brown is out with his chest. Nate Davis with a concussion. Rashaan Evans with an ankle. David Long Jr. with a hamstring. Jeremy McNichols with a concussion. And Teair Tart with an ankle injury. And then these number of players are questionable. Ola Adeniyi with a hamstring. Jayon Brown with a quad. Greg Maben with an ankle. Jeff Swaim with a concussion. And then Elijah Molden with a groin. So yeah, obviously that team is banged up right now. And it probably makes sense why they did lose to the Texans with how banged up that team is. And then going ahead with New England's report, every single of these guys I'm about to list off are listed as questionable. Jake Bailey with a knee, Christian Barmore with a knee, Jawan Bentley with the ribs, Trent Brown with the calf, Damian Harris with the neck, Hunter Henry with the neck, Deontay Hightower with an ankle, Jonnu Smith with a shoulder, and then Ramondre Stevenson with his knee injury. Yeah, and like that's why it's gonna be quick, guys. Like the Tennessee Titans are so banged up right now, and I do not see how they are effective whatsoever against that Patriots defense. They're missing A.J. Brown. Julio Jones is still on IR. Obviously, Derrick Henry, he's on IR for more likely the rest of the season. And then you got Ryan Tannehill, an okay offensive line with a bunch of, I hate calling people no names because they're in the NFL and I'm not. But let's be honest, guys that most casual fans have no clue. If you went to a casual NFL fan, if you probably even went to a casual Titans fan, and you said, tell me who's the running backs and wide receivers for Tennessee is, they are going to struggle. Like, I'm just being honest. And like I said, it's nothing against those players. Like, they're in the NFL. I'm not. They're way more talented than I am. It's pretty obvious, right? So, with that being said, You got basically guys that most people never heard of going against a Patriots defense that's been retooled and that has been dominant, underneath Bill Belichick over the last month or so. So yeah, I think it's going to be a rough outing for Tennessee. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball, and I think they're going to struggle to put up points against that Patriots defense. And I can see turnovers happening. And it's just going to be a long day for the Tennessee offense. And then you flip sides of the ball. The Tennessee defense is really good out up front with their defensive front, but you could kind of still throw the ball against them, against that secondary. So yeah, maybe they kind of keep the rushing attack of New England in check and try to put this on Mac Jones and win the game. But I still think he'll be able to be efficient. He'll be able to play smart football. He's going to be able to move the ball and put his team in scoring position throughout the day. They should be able to put up, 2 to 3 touchdown drives against the Tennessee defense. With that being said, yeah, I think it's still like a low-scoring game. Maybe the Tennessee's defense kind of keeps it within like a grasp. But I think eventually New England wins the game. I think they win like a 24-10 win tomorrow. And then moving on to this next game, we got the Atlanta Falcons traveling down to Jacksonville to face the Jaguars. And then as far as injury report on the Atlanta side, these two players are out. Jonathan Bullard with an ankle injury, and then Kendall Sheffield with a hamstring. And then these two players are questionable. Cordero Patterson with an ankle, and then Deion Jones with his shoulder. And then on the Jaguar side, Shaquille Griffin is out with a concussion. As far as this game, this is like I don't know how I feel about this game, to be quite honest. Because obviously it's two teams that are not going to make the playoffs, right? Both teams are kind of in a well, I don't know what Atlanta is really in, but definitely Jaguars are in a rebuild year. First year underneath Urban Meyer. But I guess technically, Atlanta technically should be in a rebuild year, but then they got Matt Ryan, who's an older quarterback. Like, your rebuild, yeah. That's a whole different thing in tirade I can get in. But yeah, so like, I guess let's start with Atlanta, right? So they don't have Calvin Ridley still. So Kyle Pitts, he's doing his best, but defenses are now able to shift coverage his way and try to eliminate him out of the offense. And then we'll have to see if Cordero Patterson can play or not. And then obviously if he's questionable, he's probably going to be less than 100% when he plays. So, man, and then you're going against this Jaguars defense, which isn't like world beaters, but they still have been impressive. They've gotten better I want to say impressive, but they've gotten better as the season has gone along. They're pretty stout up front and against the run, so I can see them bottling up whatever type of rushing attack Atlanta wants to throw at them. And then I can see Josh Allen and K'Lavon Chaisson winning their matchups and getting pressure and sacking Matt Ryan throughout the day and potentially forcing those turnovers. I do think Atlanta probably has a good 2 to 3 scoring drives in them, but I think the Jacksonville defense is going to be able to frustrate them at times, especially with the matchups that they got going on in the trenches between Atlanta's offensive line and the Jaguars' defensive front. And I think Josh Allen's going to have himself a day tomorrow. And if it's not him, it's going to be his opposite guy, K'Lavon Chaisson. One of those guys I think are going to get at least multiple sacks, and one of those sacks turn into a strip sack fumble. Maybe that turns into a touchdown. Now, you flip sides of the ball, Atlanta's defense is, it's not that great right now. You could throw the ball against them. I mean, the one positive side is AJ Terrell is having a really impressive sophomore year. He's balling out. They still got some good linebackers. Deion Jones, Foyesade Aloakon, still good. They still got Grady Jarrett up front. So there are still pieces in that Atlanta defense. But where they got the pieces, they have major holes, like opposite cornerback of Terrell. Their safety group is there's still places that are weak in that secondary. And I think the Jaguars offense is going to find some room for success against the Atlanta defense. I think they're going to be able to get things going with James Robinson on the ground. And then that's going to allow the play action to open up for Trevor Lawrence. And I don't know why, but I have a good feeling this is going to be Trevor Lawrence's best game his rookie season. I have a feeling he goes over 300 yards and he has 2+ touchdowns against the defense. I don't know why. It's my intuition. I mean, if you look at the numbers, quarterbacks have had success against the Atlanta defense, so I'm kind of leaning it on towards that. So Yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, they put together like plus scoring drives against the Atlanta defense. I do think I'm picking Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's going to win this one. I think they end up winning like a 28 to it'll be a little bit close. Let's say a 28 to 24 win tomorrow. I think Atlanta makes it interesting though. Yeah, a 28 to 24 win for Jacksonville. And then we're moving on to the next matchup. We got obviously I'm looking forward to this one. We got the Bucks traveling up to Indianapolis to face the Colts. Taking a look at the injury report for Tampa Bay, Antonio Brown is out with his ankle injury. This one might be huge for the Colts. Ali Marpet is doubtful with his abdomen injury, so their best offensive lineman is not going to be playing. More than likely not being. Anytime you see doubtful, it's more than likely they're not going to be playing, which is huge for a guy like DeForest Buckner. And then Vita Vea is questionable with his knee injury. I know the expectation is he will play, and I believe same thing with Devin White, who's questionable with his quad. On the Colts side, both these players are questionable, and they're both expected to play. Quentin Nelson with an ankle, as well as Darius Leonard with an ankle injury. This is a very interesting matchup to me. Obviously, I have vested interest as a Colts fan and as a writer for ColtsWire.com. I think this is a very interesting matchup because the Colts are one of the hottest teams. They have not lost this month, and they got a MVP candidate in Jonathan Taylor. They got a defense that's playing with a lot of confidence that has gone, 12 straight games, forcing a turnover, which is the longest active streak in the NFL. But then they're going against, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, they lost a couple games in a row. They got back on track against the Giants, and they obviously are wanting to go ahead and lock up this division as soon as they can. And then they obviously want to see if some games can fall their way where they can maybe go grab the number one seed in the NFC and have a chance to host get the first round bye and then host the playoff run through in Tampa Bay. So, man, the way I view this, let's start with the Colts offense, right? So the Colts offense is very hot. They're right in the hot hand of Jonathan Taylor. But with the Bucks, they have the best rushing defense in the league. Not only looking at the numbers, but then when you actually look on the paper, they have arguably one of the best front sevens in the league that can bottle up a rushing attack. And I think they're going to sell everything out to bottle up Jonathan Taylor. I think they're going to do whatever they can do. They're not going to let Jonathan Taylor beat them. So this is going to come down to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is going to have to play efficient football. He's going to have to take his shots at times, and he's going to have to be a big reason why the Colts win this game. I think he does that. I think he comes out. I think he moves the ball. I think he plays efficiently. He doesn't turn over the ball. He's been proven this year to protect the ball. And I think he takes at least one deep shot to T.Y. Hilton that results in a touchdown. And I think they're going to be able to put up 3 touchdown drives throughout the day. Now, when you flip sides of the ball, the Bucks, they got such a loaded offensive weapon set. But with Ali Marpet not being in there, I think DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart are going to dominate the middle of the defense. And they're going to be able to kind of keep this rushing attack with Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones in check. And they are going to force Tom Brady to beat them, which is never the thing you want to force them to beat you. But I think that's going to allow Tom Brady, I think he's going to have, Tom Brady's going to do Tom Brady things, right? He's going to be efficient with the football. He's going to dice up this defense. This defense is, it's been proven that you can move the ball against this defense through the air. And he's going to utilize Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think Scotty Miller is going to play. He's tight ends, Gronkowski, Cameron Brate. Like, he's going to utilize all of his weapons. He's going to march down the field, and he's going to put together 3 touchdown drives. I think this game is going to be I'm going ahead. I mean, it's probably Kevin already posted it on Colts Wire. We do our predictions every week. I'm going to go ahead and give out my prediction. So I think it's going to be 24-24, tied up, late fourth quarter, around that 2-minute range. Tampa Bay is going to have the ball. Like, maybe the Colts just tied up the game. They're about to kick it off. Tom Brady has the ball with 2 minutes left. Everybody in the world knows that what's going to happen. Tom Brady's going to march down the field. They're going to kick a field goal. Bucks win. Go home. But, little caveat. So this weekend or tomorrow, Robert Mathis, the king of the strip sack, is going into the Colts Ring of Honor. So, in honor of Robert Mathis, Kwity Paye comes off the edge. He strip sacks Tom Brady. Colts recover the ball. Wentz gets the team in score in a field goal position. Colts actually end up kicking the field goal to win. Yes, I am picking the Colts. I'm a homer. Call what it is. Colts end up getting the squeeze by the defending champs, and they win a 27-24 win over Tampa Bay. And then let me double check. Both teams' injury reports are long. Okay, yeah, this is. All right, so this will be the last 1 p.m. game. Obviously, this is going to be a game I highly doubt we see on Red Zone quite often tomorrow. But yeah, we got the Jets traveling down to Houston to face the Texans. Taking a look at the Jets injury report, Michael Carter's out with his ankle injury. And then these number of players are questionable for New York. Corey Davis with a groin. Lorenzo Fatukasi, I think I said that right, is questionable with his foot. John Franklin Myers with a hip. Shaq Lawson with a wrist. C.J. Mosley with a shoulder. And then Nathan Shepard with an elbow. And then on the Texans side, Jordan Jenkins is out with his knee injury. And then these 4 players are questionable. Davion Davis with an illness. Lonnie Johnson with an illness. Jonathan Grenard with a foot, and then Nico Collins with his hip injury. So yeah, this game is, man, I really don't know how I want to feel about this game because, like, you know, obviously the Texans just came off that huge upset over the Titans. The Texans at times have played pretty good. They got Tyrod Taylor back in the lineup. They were able to move the ball, but at the same time, it's the Texans, right? Like, that offense can fall apart at any point. Same thing with that defense. I don't know if I can trust that defense to play like they did last week against Tennessee because A, Tennessee had obviously all those injuries, and B, it was a very rainy day there in Tennessee, which did not help the Titans offense and helped out the Texans defense. But obviously the Texans defense has to be entering this game with a lot of confidence for what they did against the Titans. And they are going against this Jets offense. Now, this Jets offense will have their rookie, their new franchise quarterback back in Zach Wilson. So can Zach Wilson have his best game as a rookie this week? He's going against a defense that doesn't offer a great secondary, doesn't really offer a lot of promise in a lot of areas on that defense. There are a handful of spots. A handful of guys I like on the defense. Grenard's been playing good football. They still got their linebacker. He's slipping off the top of my mind, but he's still a good football player. And but it's very minimal pieces on that defense. So I think as long as the Jets offensive line can protect Zach Wilson, I think Zach Wilson's going to have himself a day, and he's going to be able to move the ball at times. I think both teams, I think they score about 2 to 3 touchdown drives. I think it's going to be an ugly football game, though. I'm just trying to pick a winner at this point, guys. I think both teams are about even right now. I definitely lean towards Robert Saleh being the better coach. Texans are at home. Should I pick the Texans? Man, I don't know how to really view this game. You know what? I'm going to say Zach Wilson finds a way to win this game. He's got to prove that why he was the second overall pick. And if you're the second overall pick, I know you're just coming off an injury and everything, but this is a defense that you should have some success against. So I'm going to pick the Jets to win. I think the Jets barely squeeze out a win. They win a 21-17 win over Houston. Moving into this next game, we got the 4 p.m. games. We got the Chargers heading out to Denver to face the Broncos. Taking a look at the injury report for the LA side, these 2 players are out. Alohi Gilman with a quadricep and Asante Samuel Jr. with his concussion. And then these 2 players are questionable. Matt Filer with an ankle, and then Trey Marshall with an ankle and hip. And then moving on to Denver's side, Kareem Jackson is doubtful with a neck injury, as well as Bobby Massey with his ankle. These 3 players are questionable. Mike Boone with a hip, Shelby Harris with an ankle, and then Tyree Cleveland with a hamstring. So with this matchup, if there's anything that Denver can do that can win this game, is the Chargers' rushing defense has been pretty awful this year. So Denver needs to come out with a great rushing attack with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams and run the ball down the Chargers' throat. And if they can run the ball down the Chargers' throat, Teddy Bridgewater can just play effective football, be a game manager, not look to push the issue, and not turn over the ball, yeah, I think they're going to be able to move the ball at times against this Chargers defense, and they're going to make this one of those close divisional matchups where they're going to have an opportunity to win this in the fourth quarter. But if they come out and they try to maybe throw the ball all over the yard, and all it takes is a good quick 3-and-out, a turnover, and it opens up things for LA and their offense. So that's how the Broncos are going to have to win this game, is behind the legs of Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. And you flip sides of the ball, obviously, Justin Herbert is coming off a really good game where he's going to be entering this game with a lot of confidence, going against a defense that's not the defense that everybody thought they were going to be. They're missing some key pieces throughout that defense. Kareem Jackson will be out. So I think, the Chargers offense will have some success. I think they're going to be able to do some dump offs to Austin Eckler, get the running backs involved, and then what they're going to do is he's just going to pick them apart with his weapons, with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jared Cook, Donald Parham Jr., and they're just going to be able to move the ball, and they're going to be able to put up 3+ touchdown drives. But like I said, I think for whatever reason, I can see the Broncos keeping this close. I could see them, dominating the clock, and as long as they're dominating the clock and they are converting their drives into touchdowns, I think they're going to have a shot to win in the fourth quarter. But I think Justin Herbert and his team overcome that. They end up getting the win in the fourth quarter, and they end up winning like a 31-20. Like a 31-24 type of win for LA. Moving into the next game, we have the Minnesota Vikings traveling to San Francisco to face the 49ers. And this is a huge game, right? Both teams are 5-5. Both teams have a chance to make it to the playoffs. And, the loser of this game could set them back where they don't either make the playoffs or they just stumble for the rest of the season and find themselves looking outside of the playoff picture. So, really quick with the injury report. Now, Minnesota, they are going to be missing Everson Griffin. For those who don't know, he unfortunately had a mental health episode. He's placed on some reserve list, so I'm not sure if that puts him out a certain amount of time, but my thoughts are with him. I hope he can, get his mental health issues fixed, because that looked like a very scary incident. I don't know if anybody saw that video, but he had a very crazed look on his eye, so I'm hoping that he's been battling these issues for the last few years, so hopefully he's able to get things situated. But that's obviously a huge loss. They're already missing Danielle Hunter on their defensive line, and now they're going to be missing Everson Griffin, who has been having a strong year for Minnesota. And then Wyatt Davis is also out with his ankle injury, and then Bashaud Breeland is questionable with his groin. And then you flip sides of the ball with San Francisco. These two players are out. JaMycal Hasty with an ankle injury, and then Maurice Hurst with a calf injury. And then Elijah Mitchell is doubtful with a rib and finger injury. So, starting with the 49ers offense, they obviously, when they get George Kittle back in that offense, it kind of he's kind of like the thing that makes the engine run in that offense, and that offense has been playing a lot better. Obviously, that means Jimmy Garoppolo has been playing a lot better, but they are going against this Vikings defense, which you can move the ball against. So I think it's probably gonna be Jeff Wilson will probably be the running back. I think he should have a solid day on the ground, and then that should be able to open up the passing attack with the play action. George Kittle should be able to get his, and I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel also have themselves a day, and they should be able to put up 3+ scoring drives against the Minnesota defense. But then you flip sides of the ball, the Vikings offense has been playing with a lot of confidence throughout the year, whether it's Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, or Adam Thielen. They got their own set of weapons. Now, they are going against the San Francisco defense, which is playing with a lot more confidence. They have played a lot better football over the last few weeks. And it's going to come down to, can Christian Darrisaw keep Nick Bosa in check? Can the rookie left tackle keep Nick Bosa in check? If he can, I like their chances to be able to also move the ball. But if Nick Bosa has himself a day against that rookie left tackle, all of a sudden that can really upset the flow of this Vikings offense. But I still like the Vikings offense. They get hot at the right times. I think they should be able to move the ball, and I think they're going to put themselves up, put some points up on the board as well with 3+ scoring drives. I think this game is going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think this is going to be a barn burner of running team, which is weird because normally run first teams aren't like putting up like points where it's back and forth into the 30s. Got a weird feeling it's going to be like that between both these teams. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think it's going to come down to who can force a crucial turnover at the right time. Can Harrison Smith get his hands on an interception? Can Fred Warner get himself an interception? Can Nick Bosa come off the edge, light up Kirk Cousins for a strip sack fumble? I think that's what determines this game. I view these teams very evenly right now. I really don't know who to pick. I could see either team winning. So typically when I get to that point, people have heard me say this in the past. Like if I view teams as evenly, I could see either team winning. I try to look at the quarterback, right? Well, in my personal opinion, I think Kirk Cousins is a heck of a better quarterback compared to Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm picking the Vikings. I think they find a way to squeeze out a win. They end up winning like a 35-31 win over San Francisco tomorrow. And then moving on to the next game, we got the Rams traveling out to Green Bay to face the Packers. And yeah, here we go. We got another NFC matchup with a lot on the line because obviously the Rams are still trying to win their division. They're right behind Arizona. They've stumbled and lost the last couple of games. And they obviously not only want to win the division, but they want a chance at the number 1 seed in the NFC. Well, look at Green Bay. Green Bay is currently leading their division still, even though they lost to the Vikings last week, and they still have an opportunity to go grab that number 1 seed in the NFC. So they got to stack their wins too. So this is a huge game in the NFC. Taking a look at the injury reports, this is for the Rams. Dante Dion is questionable with his thigh injury, and then Ben Skowronek is questionable with his back. Not really injuries are going to affect the game. Now, the Packers, they got a lot of stuff that could affect this outcome of the game. Like David Bakhtiari is not returning yet. He's still out with a knee injury, as well as Malik Taylor with his abdomen. Kevin King is doubtful with a hip and knee. And then these 3 players are questionable. Rashawn Gary with an elbow, Aaron Jones with a knee, and Alan Lazard with a shoulder injury. So, yeah, I'm just curious to see how this Packers offense is going to look against this Rams defense because, they also lost Elton Jenkins. He's done for the year. He tore his ACL. So the offensive line is missing their 2 best linemen. So that's not a good thing when you consider that Aaron Rodgers, which is weird that I thought you would technically have to list Aaron Rodgers on the injury report because he technically has a fractured toe, but apparently you don't have to. I don't know, but he's going to be playing. But you're talking about a quarterback on a fractured toe, so his mobility is going to be limited behind a banged up offensive line. So normally you would want to lean on the run, and Aaron Jones was able to get some practices in this week, so we'll have to see if he can play. But I would expect a healthy dose of A.J. Dillon. Even if Aaron Jones plays, I think both of them will at least split the snaps. I could still see A.J. Dillon get most of the snaps and not putting too much on Aaron Jones if he plays. I think maybe they try to play Aaron Jones just to help out the offense. And I think the Packers are going to try to lean on the run. But then obviously you're going against that Rams defense that has, Aaron Donald in the middle of the defense. And that's going to make it very hard to, effectively run against them. And they got Von Miller coming off the edge against some backup left tackles. Yeah, I mean, he usually comes off the right side. So we'll have to see if how their right tackle does for Green Bay. But still, I kind of just seeing this being a rough outing for the Packers in the trenches. And I think that's where this game could be lost, as I think the Rams can dominate the trenches. They could force, Rodgers into early decisions. So can MVS step up? If Lazard plays, can he step up? Because more than likely we'll see Jalen Ramsey on Devontae Adams throughout most of the game. So I just don't think this is matching up very well for the Packers offense because of all the injuries. But with that being said, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. He'll probably still find a way to put together 2 to 3 touchdown drives throughout the day. Now, you switch sides of the ball, the Packers defense was playing so great, and then they kind of fell apart last week against the Vikings offense, and then they're going against this Rams offense, which has kind of lost their identity. They're kind of trying to find themselves all of a sudden within the season. But I think they're going to be able to move the ball though against this Packers defense. I think they're going to lean on Darrell Henderson to start the game, and then I think they're going to start opening things up with Matthew Stafford. I think OBJ actually has himself a decent game. He makes the signing worth it in this game, and he helps puts the team in a scoring position late in the fourth quarter. And I think they should be able to move the ball though against the Packers defense. The Packers defense is definitely going to have to be the reason why Green Bay wins this game, because I just don't really trust what's going on with the Packers offense because of all the injuries. Man, I do think this will be a close game though, because I think the Packers defense does step up at times. But like I said, I think OBJ makes a big play in the fourth quarter for the Rams offense and helps open up the game for LA. Yep, I'm going to take it. I think the LA team goes up into Green Bay in this time of the year and finds a way to win. I think they win like a 24-21 win for LA tomorrow. And then that was the last 4 p.m. game. So we're going to be heading into Sunday Night Football. We got the Cleveland Browns heading out to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Taking a look at the injury reports really quick for Cleveland. Anthony Schwartz is out with a concussion. Troy Hill and Donovan Peoples-Jones are both questionable. Troy Hill with the neck, Peoples-Jones with the groin. And then, man, the Ravens are so banged up right now. They've been banged up pretty often throughout the season, but there's a lot of notable names on this list, mostly on the questionable side. But the two players that are out, Miles Boykin with a finger and then Cedric Oboye with his thigh. And then all these players I'm about to go off are listed as questionable. Anthony Everett with a thigh, Marquise Brown with a thigh, Calais Campbell with a concussion, Patrick McCarry with an ankle, Patrick Ricard with a hip and foot, Jimmy Smith with a neck, Chris Westry with a thigh, Brandon Williams with a shoulder, Tavon Young with a foot and knee, and then Nick Boyle with a knee. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Baltimore is super banged up right now. So I don't know how to view this Baltimore team. I'm surprised they've won as many games as they've won because of all the injuries that they have dealt with mainly the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, so with that being said, Lamar Jackson will be back this week after dealing with his illness last week, so that should help out their offense. They're going against a Cleveland defense, which at times looks great, and then at times they look bad. I think, with Lamar Jackson in the fold, he's always good for 2 to 3 scoring drives, but I'm wondering if that's going to be enough in this game, because I have a good feeling the Browns offense is going to put up some points tomorrow night. But I think they should be able to get things back on track with the rushing attack. Devontae Freeman has been playing pretty well for Baltimore. And then I think they should be able to look at Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. They should be able to move the ball, especially because of Cleveland linebacker situation. They're not that great in coverage. So Mark Andrews should have himself a strong game. And like I said, they should still put up 2 to 3 scoring drives throughout the game. Now, with the Browns offense, people might be kind of laughing at the fact that I think they're going to put up points, but I think we're going to kind of see the Browns offense from the beginning of the season. Now, Baker Mayfield's still dealing with his injuries, but he should be healthier than he was at the beginning of this month. So I think Baker Mayfield will kind of have himself a nice little outing. But the biggest thing for me is they get Jack Conklin back at the right tackle spot, and Kareem Hunt is back this week. So I think we're going to see a nice healthy dose of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and that offensive line being dominant up front. Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams are both questionable. So even if those guys play, they're less than 100%. But if both those guys are out of the lineup, Cleveland's just going to run all over them. If those guys end up getting ruled out, I like the chances of Cleveland running all over them with their running backs. And if they get the rushing attack going, that's where Baker Mayfield thrives on the play action. He'll be able to take shots deep, assuming Peoples-Jones is playing, take shots deep to him, and he can utilize his multiple tight ends to move the ball down the field. And I think they can put up anywhere between 3 to 4 touchdown drives against this defense, which is, as good as they are up front. Their passing coverage is very questionable because of all the injuries they have dealt with this year. So with that being said, guys, I do think Cleveland wins. I think they end up being I think they score that extra touchdown to win this game. I think the Cleveland Browns win a 28-24 win on Sunday night. Moving on to the last game of the week, we got the Seattle Seahawks traveling out to Washington to face the football team. Let's take a look at the injury reports. Again, guys, these are just from the yesterday's injury report. These are not finalized. These will come out at some point today. But these following players did not practice for Seattle. Damian Lewis with an elbow, Jamarco Jones with a back, Trey Brown with a knee, Rashad Penny with a hamstring, Travis Homer with a calf, and Brandon Shell with a shoulder, and then Geno Smith with a back. These three players were limited in practice. Alex Collins with an abdomen, Jordan Brooks with a hip, and then DJ Reed with a knee. And then for Washington, these three players did not practice. Sam Cosmi with a hip, Tyler Lawson with a knee, Ricky Seals-Jones with a hip, and then these following players were limited in practice. Antonio Gibson with a shin, Cole Holcomb with a shoulder, Adam Humphries with a hip, J.D. McKissick with an ankle, Curtis Samuel with a groin, and then Brandon Scherf with a knee injury. So yeah, with this game, guys, I mean, obviously there's not that much on the line. Like, I mean, literally, if both teams are going to want to make the playoffs, they have to like win their remaining games and hope some teams lose and all games fall their way. With that being said, the football team, you know, their offense has to be playing with some confidence. They got back-to-back wins over the Bucs and Panthers, and they'll be looking to do continue that into a 3-game winning streak over Seattle, who's having their own struggles, who are on a 2-game losing streak. So I think the football team should be able to move the ball. I think Antonio Gibson's going to have a great game against Seattle. I think he can go over 100 yards and get a touchdown. That you can run the ball against the Seattle defense, and if they're able to run the ball, that should open up things for Heineke, where he can get the ball to Terry McLaurin. And I think this offense should be able to put together 2 to 3 scoring drives on the day. Now, you flip sides of the ball for Seattle, and we're going to finally get the Seattle offense, which they can be. I think so. I just don't see Russell Wilson having 3 straight bad games. This is technically, I think, the time that he was supposed to come back from his injury. I think he rushed himself back too quick. I think that was a report, right? He came back 2 weeks earlier than he was supposed to. So this is supposed to be the time he's back. I think his finger is going to be as healthy as it has been over the past 2 months. And I think he's going to light up this terrible secondary of Washington. I think DK Metcalf's going to have a great game. I think Tyler Lockett's going to have a great game. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a great game. I think they're also going to be able to put up those 2 to 3 scoring drives. I think it's going to be a back and forth battle. It's going to go into the fourth quarter. But I'm sorry. I refuse to believe that Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll are going to lose 3 straight games. I refuse to believe that Russell Wilson is going to lose to Taylor Heineke. Now, I might be putting 2 and 2 together. You know, there are obviously rumors that Russell Wilson might leave Seattle in the offseason. Isn't Washington football team kind of a interesting landing spot? So maybe he goes and performs in front of that home crowd, in front of Ron Rivera, in front of their GM, and balls out and says, hey, come get me in the offseason. Just saying, I think Seattle finds a way to win in the fourth quarter. I think Russell Wilson delivers a game-winning drive, and they win like a 31-24 win over the football team on Monday night. So yeah, that's my video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. For anybody that took their Thanksgiving weekend off, enjoying their time and watched my video, as always, I really appreciate you guys doing that. Please hit this video with a like if you haven't yet. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please hit the subscribe button. Want to see that number start to go back up. If you got some friends that like football, they want to hear my game picks, go ahead and tell them to hit my videos up, and also hit it up with a subscribe. But yeah, I'm gonna head out of here, guys. If you have any football related questions, fantasy football questions, hit up my comments on the videos. You can text me if you got my number. Give me a call if you got my number. You can @ me on Twitter @ CodyTalksNFL. @ me, DM me, however you guys wish to get in communication with me. I'll do my best to get back to you with an answer. But I hope you guys do enjoy the rest of your Saturday after you watch this, and then I hope you guys enjoy all the games tomorrow. I will be back Tuesday night with my top waiver wire claims and streamable defenses for you guys. So I'll see you then. I'm going to get off and get this video uploaded so you guys can get to watching it. So peace out. Enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend.